Hey everyone. So I could not remember for the life of me whether or not I recorded the review or not for this already. Metallica, Poor Retouring Me, 97 through 98, the Soundboard tapes. So just that, the band recorded right off the Soundboard tapes. Poor Retouring Me, I saw Metallica on Poor Touring Me and Poor Retouring Me, which was awesome. With it being the Soundboard, and you can tell it's directly off the Soundboard because you really cannot hear the crowd, which on a song like The Memory Remains, you really need the audience. It really makes a huge difference not having the audience in there. There's a couple times when vocal effects are used on James to kind of pitch him to the two sides, that like when he does the big laugh thing on Enter Sandman, it gets really kind of weird sounding and whatnot. The set list itself is interesting because Metallica was doing a lot of two nights in these locations, and there would be variations between the two nights. How do I know this? Because I was at one of the two nights on this tour, just like on the Load tour, I was at one of the two nights. This tour seems to have fluctuated a little bit more. Now, I think they've thrown a few extra tunes in here as well compared to, but I loaded up my actual set list here. I went to Setlist FM, loaded up my actual set list, and this is what I got versus what's on here, okay? So you got the intro jam on here, and on here it leads into Helpless, which goes into Master of Puppets, Of Wolf and Man, Thing That Should Not Be, Ain't My Bitch, Fuel, Memory Remains, Whiplash, King Nothing, Bleeding Me, Bass Guitar Doodle. I'm going to stop at the bass guitar doodle, and I will explain why I stopped at the bass guitar doodle in a second. Now, you can tell there's obviously extra tracks in here because I just listed off the bass guitar doodle is track 12 on here. Now, on the show I went to go see them live at, you got Bread Fan, Master of Puppets, Of Wolf and Man, The Thing That Should Not Be, Fuel, Memory Remains, Bleeding Me, and then you got the bass guitar solo. Now, the reason why I stopped at the bass guitar solo here is the bass guitar doodle on here is actually from the first night. So, if I had been at the show on the first night instead of the show on the second night, I would have heard the actual legitimate bass doodle on here myself. Now, do I even remember 100% what the bass doodle was like that night? No, because you're talking like 30 years ago now. So, what are you going to do? But it's really, really cool that the bass doodle on here is the same doodle as on there. And the bass solo on there is track 8, whereas on here it's track 12. So, they've got 4 extra tracks in here already. All right, and then moving on. Continuing on the CD, we've got Nothing Else Matters, Until It Sleeps, Devil's Dance, For Whom the Bell Tolls, Wherever I May Roam, 1, Fight Fire with Fire. And I'm going to stop it there, and you'll understand why. Now, when I saw them live, it went into Nothing Else Matters, Devil's Dance, King Nothing with an Outlaw Torn Jam, which is on here as well. Wherever I May Roam, 1, and Fight Fire with Fire. Then we get into the acoustic sets. We got on here, Low Man's Lyric, Poor Twisted Meat, and Motor Breath. When I saw them, we got Low Man's Lyric, The Four Horsemen, and Last Caress. I'm sorry, but we scored better on my night because I love the acoustic version of Four Horsemen. It is so badass. That's why I went out of my way to find my original Metallica unplugged bootleg was so I could have a bootleg version of the Four Horsemen acoustic, and now, courtesy of the box set, I have that. All right, moving on. Then you got encore number 2. So we got the encore jam, and then you got Sad But True, Creeping Death, then Enter Sandman. This one, encore 2, is Sad But True and Enter Sandman. Then encore 3, oh, here they put encore 2 jam, and then it goes into what would be encore 3, which would be Damage incorporated on the disc. On here, encore 3 is Creeping Death and Whiplash. I would have gladly traded Last Caress in my live show. I would have traded Last Caress for Poor Twisted Me. I would have liked that. But outside of that, I mean, there's not as many songs when I saw them, obviously, as there is on here. But I think I had the better show than the first night. That's my thoughts, my views, my opinions. I do like this, and it is really cool to hear it from the soundboard. There's pros and cons. It's crystal clear. You hear the band crystal clear. Every last single mistake, no matter what, is there for you to hear in all of its glory, which is awesome. But at the same time, you lose the crowd, which really sucks. And when you got songs like Ain't My Bitch that have a lot of crowd participation as well. Okay, this is a note to Metallica. And because this goes with you using what's on the board. When we saw Metallica the second night, the crowd, Pine Knob, is legendary for having a big grass hill. And when certain metal bands get going, and I mean really get going, like songs like Fuel, sometimes the grass tends to come up off the hill and start flying around. And I mean, when I say the grass, I mean, we're talking about huge chunks of turf like this, flying up over our heads and into the audience. Absolutely insane. So at the end of the song, you see how, you know, here it looks like James is losing his shit? James lost his shit. And I think not using the Detroit show from the second night for Fuel and having James on there when he lost his shit with the lead into Memory Remains was a very big mistake. You clearly recorded the first night. I like to believe you would have had the recordings from the second night. You should have used James going absolutely batshit crazy with that as the lead into Memory Remains, or use Memory Remains from the second night. I don't care, but that intro going into Memory Remains from Fuel into Memory Remains from that show should have been in there, because James just going nuts, calling the crowd up on the hill a bunch of idiots. Just would have been wickedly beautiful. Okay, folks, I really enjoyed this. I don't know if I would buy it as if it was released like this, as, you know, a set just on its own. As part of the box set, it's great, absolutely fantastic. But on its own, because it's the soundboards, I don't know. If it wasn't the soundboards, maybe. Like if it was a proper live album, I just might. And that's the thing, is I do have some of, not necessarily these tracks, but I do have some of these songs in particular from these tours live. So I have heard them with the crowds mixed in, and it does make a difference. Anyways, folks, that's my thoughts, my views, my opinions. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. We're just going to keep pushing along with these until we are done, and regular reviews on the regular days as we go. You're still going to be watching some Dio, I believe, for a little bit, and then we're going to get out of some Dio, and we're going to keep moving along and chugging along. I've been recording other reviews about a whole bunch of new albums, bunch of cool stuff coming, so let me know anything down below, folks. That's what that comment section is for. On your way down there, like button, subscribe button, bell for notifications, couple links worth checking out. Otherwise, peace, love, take care.